Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Data Playbook. Now that we have Week 12 kicked off with Thursday Night Football, we're going to look into the Sunday day games one by one. So if this is not the pregame of the two teams that you're looking for, go look for the other video that should be on the channel. But otherwise, let's get into this one. Starting for our team data for Pittsburgh at Chicago, you have Chicago favored on the money line with a spread of 2.5 and a total line of 45.5. And then with your averages, we'll take a look at the rankings. Starting with Pittsburgh, you have a lot of pretty bad numbers, maybe average to poor. You have some average scoring numbers, but pretty bad offense. Worse than the league at stopping the pass, maybe average at stopping the rush. Weirdly, uniquely, they're pretty good at the tight end spot, especially for how bad their passing is. So that's kind of something to keep an eye on. Over here with Chicago, you have a pretty good offense, with being top third in the league of scoring, about average for passing, the best team in the league right now for rushing, and about average for tight ends. But otherwise, their defense is about bottom third of the league, so overall pretty bad. And then looking into our quarterbacks, you have Aaron Rodgers and Caleb Williams, with Rodgers averaging 14.5 fantasy points per game, and Williams averaging 19.3. Aaron Rodgers has 7 passing interceptions this season, with no other turnovers, and Williams has 4 interceptions this season, with no other turnovers as well. And then with your averages and your carry share, we know where Aaron Rodgers doesn't do too much. Again, you can see this with the running backs, but we know that this is probably about 5% and even less for the rushing yard share. But with Caleb Williams, who does rush a little bit more, you get about 18.2% of the team's carry share and about 18.7% of the team's total rushing yard share. Next up with the running backs, you have Jalen Warren and DeAndre Swift, with Warren averaging about 13.2 fantasy points per game and Swift about 15 fantasy points per game. The only turnovers between the two comes with Swift, with 1 rushing fumble. And then looking at their averages and shares, you have Jalen Williams with about 55.9% of the team's rushing carry share and 62% of the team's rushing yard share. And DeAndre Swift gets about 46.8% of the team's rushing carry share and 46.1% of the team's rushing yard share. That's because he splits quite a bit with his backup, it looks like, with about 30.4% going to the backup, which I think his name is Kyle Monagai. But let me know if that's right or not. Otherwise, with the rushing yard share, he gets about 30%. Moving into the number one receivers, you have DK Metcalf and Romo Duns, with Metcalf getting an average of 12.2 fantasy points per game, and Romo Duns averaging about 13.5. Neither have given up a turnover, so we'll just go straight to their averages and look at their target share, with DK Metcalf getting about 22.2% of the team's target share and 27.1% of the team's receiving yard share. For Romo Duns, he gets 24.3% of the team's target share and 25.6% of the team's receiving yard share. And as expected for number one receivers, they both have the largest target share and receiving yard share on their respective teams. For your number two receivers, you have Calvin Austin and DJ Moore, with Austin averaging 7.3 fantasy points per game and Moore averaging 9.5. There's no turnovers between the two, so if we look at their averages and target share, you get Calvin Austin with 13.3% of the team's target share, and you get 11.9% of the team's receiving yard share. For DJ Moore, he gets 16.5% of the team's target share and 17.9% of the team's receiving yard share. So for Calvin Austin, that doesn't quite make him the second largest receiver, but it is a lot more spread out for Pittsburgh. But DJ Moore does get the second largest share on his team. And then finally getting to our tight ends, you have Darnell Washington and Cole Kmet. Washington averaging 6.7 fantasy points per game, and Cole Kmet averaging 4.5. With no turnovers, we'll look at the averages. And then the share, with Washington getting a share of 9.3% of the team's target share and 10.3% of the team's receiving yard share. Then over here with Cole Kmet, he gets about 9% of the team's target share and 8% of the team's receiving yard share. So there's all your player data. This game does seem to lean heavily towards the Bears with this much better offensive rankings and this much better scoring rank, although they have a pretty bad allowed scoring rank, meaning that Pittsburgh could find a way to open up and keep up with them, especially with this bad defense. But they're really going to have to figure that out with a pretty bad passing and pretty bad rushing rank. So there's all your data for that game. I hope you found it interesting and useful. And if you did, leave a like and subscribe, and leave a comment on what else you might want to see in the future. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you for the next one.